We all know that the death care market is changing. So why are you sticking to the same old marketing strategies? Inertia Marketing and Design knows death care and handles the marketing needs for hundreds of cemeteries, funeral homes, and industry suppliers. From email campaigns, websites, and social media presences to printed materials, promotions, branding, and public relations, Inertia is your turnkey solution to elevate your brand and reach your customer base. Find them online at www.inertia.marketing or call today at 888-552-IDEA. That's 888-552-4332. Inertia Marketing and Design. Brands in motion, stay in motion. Hi, I'm Tony Russo, and this is Funeral Service Insider from Kates-Boylston. Each episode, we feature conversations about emerging trends and news affecting death care from the perspective of people who understand the delicate balance of change in a profession and vocation steeped in tradition. This week, we're speaking with Tony Kumming. He's the new president of Pinnacle Funeral Service, but he's been around for a while, and he's seen funeral home acquisitions from both sides of the fence. Pinnacle, if you don't know, is a consolidator, so they buy and run funeral homes, but they're a mid-sized consolidator, and they have a very specific, not niche that they're trying to fill, but approach that they've found has been successful, and they hope to just kind of continue to follow it. We have a great talk about not only when it's time to hand over the reins, but also some of the difficulties that people don't consider in the long term. Remember to stick around for the post-mortem after the credits, and we will see you on the other side. You've been in funeral service for 15-ish years?
Yeah, I started out of college at the Keystone Group, working in corporate developments. I started there in 2007, worked there from 2007 until 2010 when we were sold to SCI. At that time, I also went to law school at night, so I was working at Keystone during the day, going to law school at night. And then when we were sold to SCI, part of that transaction was a required divestiture of some funeral homes. And as most people know, Foundation Partners Group was formed to buy all of those assets and create a new company, which I was a part of kind of from day one. So I quickly went from Keystone Group to Foundation Partners Group for a couple of years. And then in 2012, I decided to kind of switch sides from going from buying funeral homes to helping people sell funeral homes, and joined NewBridge Group in April of 2012. And then, of course, late last year, got the opportunity to kind of switch sides again and start buying funeral homes with Pinnacle Funeral Service back in October. So kind of seen both sides of the fence, but yeah, started in 2007 with the Keystone Group.
Your move back and forth, or actually just your move back, not your move forth, because that was a very long time ago. But it's really interesting because a lot of the conversation now is finding succession, like within the family or within a trusted key employee, seems to be getting harder, and more people are choosing to just sell to another party. Am I way off base here? Because that seems close.
No, I think even in the 10 years that I was with NewBridge, we saw a shift, and I think it probably has a couple of factors. One, the children of a generation that are looking to sell now are less likely to go into funeral service for whatever reason. Maybe it's they grew up in a different environment and they saw kind of, quite frankly, what funeral service did to their parents and how much time and dedication it required. So a lot of kids went to college and went into different career paths. So that kind of left a void where previously a lot of people just kind of went in and followed their father and mothers in the funeral service and took over as the next generation. Also, I think COVID actually impacted people a lot too. I think just the exhaustion and the uncertainty of what that caused made people really shift their focus. From when I was originally with NewBridge, I think that it was still pretty accurate to say that most sellers were people that didn't have a succession plan, didn't have children in the business, and that were getting ready to retire up until now, I think that's still obviously very prevalent, but there are a lot of younger people that are looking to make a change as well, which is somewhat new. And I think that has something to do with what they went through with COVID, but also I think they maybe enjoy what they do, but maybe they don't really need all the headaches of ownership, and they want to maybe partner with somebody to collaborate with and find the value in maybe selling and partnering with a larger company that can provide additional resources.
Yeah, I'd like to actually kind of follow up on that, because it's an excellent point. When you look at the stress that can be involved, it's easy to see why somebody might say, you know what, I'd rather have a boss. I really love serving families. I really love my job. I don't want to have to worry about where the mortgage money's coming from and what I'm going to do when I want to retire.
And furthermore, it's not just something else that not just funeral service has been dealing with, but pretty much the entire economy is one of the biggest challenges right now is finding staffing. And so that on top of paying the mortgage, making sure all the bills are paid, it's an additional level of stress that a lot of people just don't enjoy. That was usually one of my first conversations with somebody that I was trying to help find a good succession partner at NewBridge was kind of, I'm tired of trying to find good help. It's hard to come by, and they're really looking to the successor to help them with that. So that's one thing that I enjoy a lot about Pinnacle is that we do have some resources to find quality staff. We have great benefits. We pay well, and I think it's pretty attractive for people to be able to join Pinnacle, where an individual funeral home owner might not be able to offer what we can offer. So that's definitely one of the benefits.
Let's talk about Pinnacle for a little bit, because it is in the acquisition company. It's certainly not one of the largest, but
Correct.
It's also, I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be part of a movement where I don't know if I'm just noticing them more now, or there really are more of these, call them mid-size companies that are acquiring and running funeral homes. Is there like a special efficiency there? I mean, I know you're looking to grow, but it seems like there must be some sort of sweet spot in the multiple home but not monster size business.
I think it's a good question. I think a lot of the benefits of what you're describing is kind of that sweet spot of the not too big but not too small. Is there are efficiencies, but there's also a culture. There's also excitement about who you are. It's being able to kind of define the future of the company. Where if a business sells to SCI or Park Lawn or Care Services, those things are already kind of predefined, and there's people that are already in positions in part of their organizations that there's not really too much opportunity to grow. And where a company like ours, where if a business sells to us, there's opportunities within our organization to grow with us and kind of define who will be in the next 5 years. So I don't know if there's more of companies like us. I think just it might be a function of being a lot more opportunities for acquisition. You just hear about a lot more. There are a couple of new people joining the industry trying to acquire funeral homes, but that's been fairly consistent in the past. There's always been new people trying to create companies, and so I don't know if there's necessarily more, but it might just be more top of mind for people to hear more about them.
And where do you see what's the plan right now for Pinnacle? Where do you see yourselves in the market now, and how do you hope to like distinguish yourselves, let's say?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a couple of factors that I think would put us at the top of the list for most sellers, and a couple that I've touched on before, but I can highlight again, is that we are small, and we do plan on growing. We're creating a culture that people can be proud to be a part of. So our plan is, just generally speaking, probably to grow 20+% a year over the next 5, 10, 15 years. There isn't no timeline for us to do anything hard. Our plan is to continue to grow indefinitely. So I think the key factors as to why someone would join us over others is that we are small. We allow locations to really run as they have in the past. I always like to say that people, and I'm not the only one that says this, but no one knows how to run their funeral home better than the people that are actually running it. So we're not going to come in and just blanket change a bunch of things.
Right.
And again, we have really strong benefit package for employees, and also opportunities to grow within the organization. So from a seller's perspective, I think one of the benefits is knowing that they're going to be a part of Pinnacle for a long time, and not some other larger organization is comforting. And then all the other benefits I just mentioned it's kind of a unique situation, I would say, compared to others.
I know you just kind of, you're still kind of getting your feet under yourself, but can you tell me broadly how often owners stay on? Because I know that it's kind of common for owners to stay on for a while after the transition, and sometimes for even longer than a while after the transition, and they're happy to still do the work and not have that ownership role. Is that common?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's varied from once the transaction is closed, you never see them again, to they are still running the business. I don't know if it's just a function of who we are or if people still enjoy working with us, but we focus more on the latter part of that, where people are still engaged with us, whether it's through consulting roles or full-time employment. I talk to the former owners regularly, and they all have different relationships with the funeral home, but they're all still very active in making sure that the funeral home is successful. So for the most part, the industry is learned from maybe past mistakes where others have maybe not seen the value in former owners staying connected. But I think from our perspective, it's definitely something that we would prefer.
It's interesting. I'm covering a story this week about, I don't know if you heard, in Ohio, one of the funeral directors wasn't kept on by the new company, and they took all the pre-need contracts with them when they left. And it was really just this bad blood thing. And in doing my research, for the story, I discovered that that's also not uncommon for there to be really hard feelings if the transition isn't done correctly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you hear those stories sometimes, and thankfully it's rarer than you might think. But yeah, we I can speak on behalf of the people that we helped with NewBridge, and then those that were involved with the Pinnacle. That's never happened to us, so thankfully I haven't had to deal with that.
But do you think, certainly keeping the funeral home owner on helps, but what are some of the other ways that you can kind of mitigate that sense of bad feeling after a takeover? If, say, a key employee wants to stay and then you have trouble like making that connection, like how important is it to keep on a key employee after a sale?
I think it's vital. I think we're not going to go into a situation without those certainties in place. I can't imagine a scenario where those things aren't kind of at the forefront of the conversations from the beginning in the talks, whether it's key employees or former owners. I think they're both very valuable going forward.
And the reason I bring this up, and I don't mean to make this too much of a softball question, but it seems to me that people who are just like, okay, I'm going to go buy 3 or 4 more funeral homes may not know how important that is. I think I wonder how important it is to have someone whose job it is to acquire funeral homes be part of that decision.
Yeah, it's interesting that would happen. I don't know the exact situation you're speaking of, and it might be something that's completely unique. I don't know who the buyer was, but I would say that the most of the businesses that are acquiring funeral homes would not make that mistake. But yeah, it is I think probably one of the top 2 or 3 most important things in each acquisition is making sure that the right staff is in place going forward.
All right, we're going to take a quick break now and speak with Marketing Director Lucia Igani, and she's here to talk about some of the upcoming webinars on Kates-Boylston.com.
Thanks, Tony. I'm excited to be here.
And when we book these, we try to make them kind of evergreen. I mean, this isn't how to fix your business this week or anything like that.
Right. So I say to visit our website and go to the webinar section, and you will see the current webinars that will be going live and the dates, and you can register there, as well as the past webinars that have happened. We have another one in July on the 27th, and that is hosted by Jeff McCauley from Funeral Screen, and his topic is how to personalize your funeral services using digital technologies. So again, something that can be used at any point in your business.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, and we're going to go back to the show. I want to ask for a moment about NewBridge and your decision to leave. What was the enticement from? Now, I don't mean like, what made you think you could do a better job at Pinnacle than you were doing at NewBridge? I guess, is that the right kind of question to ask?
Yeah, I loved working with NewBridge, where we help set up succession plans for owners that were interested in selling. In my work there, I really got a chance to see what's important to an owner as he or she makes the decision to sell to a new owner. So I think part of the decision was actually being able to go to Pinnacle and be in a unique situation to put all that experience to work to make sure that owners get exactly what they need when they're selling and joining a larger company. So I think the actual experience that I went through was kind of primed me for this position exactly for what I enjoy doing is really helping funeral home owners, for the most part, make the biggest decision in their careers. So it's I totally understand how important it is, not just for their pocketbook, but also for their legacy and for their families. It really is. It's emotional. It's important, and so I think it's just kind of a continuation of helping people through that process is kind of the reason why this opportunity was a no-brainer.
And what do you think is the material difference between being in charge of making the acquisition and being in charge of helping the acquisition be made?
Yeah, I think with NewBridge, really the work almost ends at the day of closing, and you kind of wish people the best, but you're not really involved after that. I think the biggest difference and the biggest opportunity is to take those relationships and understand the importance of them, but also understand that it's not just going to end at closing. It's going to continue for 5, 10, 15 years after the sale, and being the person to make sure those relationships remain strong is kind of appealing and attractive to how it's different here at Pinnacle as it was at NewBridge.
One of the things that actually they mentioned in the press release, and I think it's worth considering, is that for now you guys are committed, Pinnacle's committed to staying privately owned, and that of course is in the news. Just how much money there is in going public as a consolidator, and so why this kind of commitment to staying private?
So, in a sense, the purpose of putting that in there is not actually to compare between a private entity and a public company. It's actually a little bit more nuanced than that. It's more that we are privately held by the same people that have been around the company since its beginning. We're different even from other companies that are private equity backed, where they have this big investment group that it's purely financial, and they have this timeline of 5 to 7 years.
Right.
They're either going to flip it to another private equity company or go public or sell to a public company. So we can distinguish ourselves from even those companies where we don't have a timeline. We don't have this mandate to say, hey, we need to get to this size by this date and then sell to somebody else. We want to be around for a long time. And that also affords us the ability to, I don't want to say picky, but we can really focus in on the type of businesses that we feel will be most successful under our ownership, rather than just buying whatever opportunity is out there. So being able to be patient and not have this mandate to grow by this size, by this date, really allows us to make the best decision for not just our business, but also the families that we serve.
And kind of following up on that. So how much more likely are is a company like yours to take a chance on a turnaround proposition as opposed to needing to be profitable from day one to kind of maintain that certain level of growth?
It's a good question. I think the easiest way to answer that question is to just say that we've actually, in our history, we've started funeral homes from scratch. So,
wow,
that's the ultimate kind of long game. And both of the ones that we started from scratch are very successful funeral homes. So, not to say that that's going to become a focus, but that kind of just speaks to how dedicated we are to kind of the long-term success and health of the business. And
also, I guess your sense of the market, like if you can look at a market and say there is a funeral home missing in this place, that's got to bode well for your ability to kind of know where your opportunities lie.
Yes, and also we have the ability to maybe be in a market that we're already in and see that there's an opportunity maybe just around the corner where we can either build a new funeral home within one of our brands or just a complete another startup. So there's different ways that we can approach that same problem. But yeah, it's something that we are able to take a look at for sure.
Fantastic. And that is really all I have for you, unless you have something else for me. Is there something I should have asked and didn't? Something you thought you'd have the opportunity to say and didn't get to say?
No, I think in general, to kind of summarize things, I think it's really just Pinnacle is in a unique situation compared to others, whether it's SCI or the local guy down the street, to be that sweet spot of long-term patience, knowing that you'll be part of this company for a long time and have kind of all the benefits of the large company, but not all the headaches. So that's really the main reason why I think this is so exciting, is that we can offer something that almost no one else can.
Fantastic. Well, and thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening to Funeral Service Insider, the podcast, sponsored by Inertia Marketing and Design. If your funeral home, cemetery, or death care industry service is looking to get your brand into motion, Inertia Marketing and Design is your answer. Inertia handles all your marketing, online, social media, and public relations needs in one place. Discover an accelerated solution to make your brand stand out in the death care crowd. Find them online at www.inertia.marketing or call today at 888-552-IDEA. That's 888-552-4332. Inertia Marketing and Design. Brands in motion, stay in motion. Funeral Service Insider, the podcast, is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written, hosted, and edited by me, Tony Russo. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can do so by sending me an email, arusso@kbpublications.com. You can also send me a voicemail by recording a voice memo and mailing it to that email address, or you can reach me at 732-746-0201, and you can leave a message there, and if it's appropriate, I will play it on the air. Please consider subscribing wherever you're listening now. That way, as soon as the show comes out, it can get downloaded to your phone and you can play it whenever you're ready. For this week's postmortem, I want to talk about our new website, and for a good reason. I wrote a really fun story, and it's easy not to take credit for it because I'm literally stealing it from another journalist who took it upon herself to start hunting down the families of unclaimed remains in the coroner's office in Bucks County and Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It's in this week's FSI, and if you're not a subscriber, you can still take a look at it for free on our website. Each month, you can get a limited number of free stories from behind the paywall just for registering. And this is one that I think is worth registering for if you're not already a subscriber. If you're already a subscriber, I hope you enjoyed the story when it came out on Thursday. But in addition to talking about the logistical difficulties of finding and dealing with some of these unclaimed remains, we heard a bunch of really cool stories about, success stories. And they're always nice to hear. Finally, if you are of a mind, this is the kind of project that anyone can do. And when I was speaking with Joanne, who told me the stories, I said, do you care if people steal this idea? And she's, no, please steal this idea. She is covering 2 counties in a very large state, in a very large country. But this idea that people will just start putting out the names that are attached to these unclaimed remains, and family members find them. Some family members can't afford to pay for the cremation, which is an issue that we cover in the story. But sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge. Some people just disappear, and this is a great chance to find them. So I encourage you to take a look at that story. And I will talk to you next time on Funeral Service Insider, the podcast.